that's the perfect time.
That's the perfect,
isn't it? There's no better time than a good long time.
I agree. All right, let's see how often Villa has been played so far over the 6 Invitational. As the bench comes through, it seems like it is a grand total of 6, actually. 51% defensive win rate, so very much on the fence there.
Dockerby and Ying, FaZe, same band. They dislike Dockerby, and they're going to make sure that she's not on the board. It's a heck of a heavy-hitting DMR. It's a very good gun in the right hands. The calls are problematic for some of the holes they like to do. We know they like to play Echo. We know they like to play on cams. We know they like to play mobile as well. So it sort of gives them a bit of a game that they can lean into. And then Mirror and Valk, pretty standard. And the Ying, I mean, I pointed it sort of out before as something that G2 use very well. FaZe can use it as well, and they just don't want to play that game.
Yeah, for sure. I was going to say, like, wow, G2 actually banning out the Ying. How surprising. But it's like, you know, they probably have enough faith that they can attack on this map without it. I just don't want to be giving it to FaZe to use against them. It's FaZe that starts off on the defense here, and we are headed towards the first floor. First, it is going to be the kitchen and the dining area. It's not the hungriest side of the mall, it's on a different map.
No, it's a little bit of the hungriest side.
It is definitely in the list of hungry sites, but not on the hungriest, because there's also a pantry close. But then, yeah, you know, you have the other kind of rooms that don't really have anything to do, like laundry. Right next to it.
Yeah, that's not a hungry room at all.
No.
That's like, all right. The Razor Blooms with the M870 shotgun, that can be a bit of a problem if we start to see some of those strict sharp pushes that we saw from G2 on the previous map. The setup there of the, okay, well, let's play against these traps. Let's bring some damage. The Capcans, the Legions, the Razor Blooms. It's to stop the game that G2 were very, very good at, but they just couldn't quite find the end of it on the map that wasn't theirs. Here, where FaZe, I think, are a little bit more uncomfortable, they'll probably be trying to limit not so much, or focus more on what they do well rather than thinking that you can do better than them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Thanks. E1D goes off. E1D goes off. You're on the hunt at this for the far end. You're seeing if you can try and clear across Hut and Piano, get yourself in. If the hatch is open, you want to keep an eye up towards it. If it's closed, you can move through a couple of pre-fired pellets, but the reveal of the players at the top of the stairs mean they still have to go with an unfortunately wide clear.
Yeah, they still will have to clear out the full top floor. It's not just going to be one player. It's also Souls that is on the top of the main stairs. Next, the E1D goes off. Souls instantly moves in afterwards to take control of Study, hoping to go for a bit of a fight and a rotate around. Spots the first player, takes him down cleanly. No worries for him. It's going to be the entry kill for FaZe. It's going to be the line off the board as well. Alamau now focusing purely on Colin. As Cyber takes down Doki as well. Not a good start for G2.
Yeah, that was off the sort of mark there for FaZe. They swung in with the first engagements. And G2, their approach here was, as I said, a bit spread out. They were trying to find some width. They were trying to force the FaZe players who were happy to not move. They took out as many drones as they did. They did so much damage. We've only got 2 left. And that's a huge cost of everything that's come forward. If you think, well, what's really been taken here by G2? They've died putting pressure not really directly onto the site at this point.
I mean, even now they're not really on the side. Yes, they're opening up some of these walls, but they're still outside windows. Cyber's just waiting patiently there with the M870 shotgun. Already has 1 kill with the machine pistol that he carries. Benja's going to go on a bit of a hunt because he seems to be aware of the fact that someone's out there. But so is Cyber. Leans into the fight, doesn't quite land. And Benja gets away with the kill and not a single point of damage taken.
I mean, now it's just 1 drone left. 1 drone, 3 players, a grenade, and some chance at stopping people coming behind you. But with Souls on the hunt right behind, do they know? Oh, do they at least have that cool? Benja able to get 1 back, but there's still a lot of work left to do. 30 seconds. They're just going to have to try and sort of brute force their way through into the site at this moment in time. They've rotated the diffuser closer around towards but with Bullet watching the hatch, well, that's just 1 more tick against them. Quick hop in. This army barricade means they're going to have an awkward approach towards this. The fight is slender, and it's just time being blown away. And at this point, if they're able to win this out, it would really be FaZe just throwing, and they don't really seem like they're in the mood.
No, they want to be looking this one off with a quick 2-0 against G2 because we mentioned it before, it is going to be a tough day for whichever team comes out on top out of this game, considering they will still have to face Dark Zero afterwards in another knockout game. There's no more second chances for any of these teams that will play today. And FaZe, they win their first with quite a bit of, you know, relaxing fashion. Not really any pressure really being put upon them. The most stressful moment probably was Benja finding 2 kills from below in the basement, and there not being any reply until half a minute later. And that is something that FaZe would like to have more of. Just these kind of rounds where they pick up those early entries, they are not really being put under too much pressure, because the more rounds they find on the defense, the better it will be for them when they go over to that second half. Because if it is a map you are not too confident with, or you're not too comfortable on, playing on the defense is always just that little bit easier than on the attack. Because on the attack, you need to be on your feet. You need to be quick in adaptation, because you need to reply to whatever the defense has made for you. What kind of a present they have handcrafted for you.
G2, full start. At what point do you sort of try and shake the cobwebs off and move forward into this engagement? FaZe, they've done what they needed to kind of do there. As I said, it's less about limiting in terms of the lockdown that you can put on the site here. They need to lean in to what G2 want to approach. We're still going to see the consistency of traps, the plays against the stretch and the clarity that G2 want to go for on their approach here. The break of the Flores, I think is good adaptation. Allows you to smash open some of these softs. The keybers have been used fantastically by FaZe throughout this. You always see them just a little bit at arm's reach. It gives you the wiggle room to play against this space, and it means there's a lot of utility cost to get there.
Twitch drone quickly taken down, and to quickly lean back into it. Yeah, because, you know, they are using the double architecture right now with castle and then also the keeper barriers, but whereas you can place those castles earlier on, the keeper barrier is just a quick toss and they're right back up. So it just allows you to recraft these safe protective zones, or at least somewhat safe protective zones. Benja is waiting at the bottom of Astronomy Stairs. He's going to be waiting for a call to be coming through from G2 that it is time to go. And there's the jump up from Cybertex.
Oh no! And he might find a third. Souls takes, and you can see a little bit of celebratory crouching there. He has just dunked on the G2 approach. The hop out on the window, getting a double. And that is just a tragedy. One more for Cyber, and what a brutal round to be on the wrong side of.
G2 timeout.
Let's listen in.
Oh, he sounds mad.
I haven't fucking shut it up you once in my entire 6 months here. But what the fuck are we doing? We're timid, we're not talking, we're shouting over each other. Fucking wake up! Is this how we want to go out of the tournament? We've shown everyone here that we were the best team in this tournament in group stages. Fucking do it! You guys got this! Communication and coordination. We're one by one dying everywhere. Time to wake up! Fucking get the energy! Fire in your assets! Get this shit done!
Let's go, boys.
Let's wake up. Fucking energy! Show it!
Fucking go. They're not even playing. They're not even playing like crazy siege. It's just default. Stop doing stupid shit. Like it's easy to counter. Okay, no problem.
We're just not doing simple shit.
What?
We're just not doing all simple
Exactly. We're not doing simple shit. They are.
We're just
Like,
sat there.
yeah, exactly. Let's be active. Fuck it.
Attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
Do it, do it, do it.
Hasn't shouted in his 6 months here, so this one should be coming home.
Did he shout at his 6 months with us?
He definitely did when I was playing ranked with him.
Oh, yeah.
A team killed him.
You have irritated Fabian more than his team has irritated him in a professional competitive environment. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that?
I join G2 at this point. I am...
I remember playing with Fabian when he was with us, and I'd not actually had the joy of playing with him before. and I did a really good round of Consulate. And he goes, oh, Fleek, you're maybe the best of all of them. And then I entirely messed it up the next round. He goes, I spoke too soon. So, no, but he's entirely right. That round was abysmal. For where they were throughout this tournament, to falling to plays like that is just beyond words. Cyber, he's looking to try and punish it, and he might be able to find it. Do they have an awareness? They do. He takes a bit of a scrap and a scrape, but he's able to escape and get out of there before he's entirely punished. They're still watching some of it, but otherwise, not for now.
Drones coming through. From Art into Piano, they have spotted out that one player out there that is still roaming. Now they need to hunt him down. This Cyber, a player with a lot of accolades behind his name. A true menace to go up against. He will not take it easy on you. E1D pops, G2 not really moving right behind it. There is Benja up on the top though. He has taken Trophy and Stature under control, but it's not the site. But at least that's this part of the map cleared out. It gives them a staging area to try and launch an attack from, or at least something similar to that. There he goes, first kill comes through. Elamau finds Cyber, but an instant trade will be coming down on Doki. Side of the map.
There's a bit of pressure now coming against Souls. He's going to tuck himself in, get close towards the site. They have some barricades, some reinforcements. You can sort of play this space a bit longer, especially with the Keeper barricade that has been placed in a little bit more time. Doki is dropped. Bullet had the bait. And well, another little bit of a disaster there. Alamau caught out. They've suddenly lost the man advantage.
It's not looking good for G2 as they continue on their attack here. Benja's trying to, hunt for the scraps that might have been left behind, but the remaining FaZe members did go back towards the site. Breaching round will be used to get rid of any utility on the other side. The Keeper barrier actually will stay up. It's just a vertical angle that will be used. Afraid someone might be in studies trying to hold that door to see if they come back after the explosion that just happened. He's going to be creating another angle like that to see if he can protect the other side of the door, which Virtue seems to be coming from. And Astro, just from the top of main, he has a good angle. He can stop this plant from happening, which means that the rest of G2, or Benja rather, needs to be providing support and take down Astro.
The break coming through onto just an angle, not for a rotate. Don't give them an option, but make the gun cabinet uncomfortable to be inside. You can see there's still pressure over the top of the stairs, and the frost mat right underneath it just swings in and gets torn up, leaving Virtue alone. And another disaster of an approach here for G2, torn up by the holds, the swings. A double kill was the start. And FaZe are fired up.
Not just fired up, the mood is there, the smiles, and just the laughter, all present. And they're relaxed because they're currently leading 3-0 in a map that is 50%-ish towards the defense. And Alamau is quiet. Well, he's talking, but everything is just gone. Baiting the site. Doki's volunteering himself. Let's see what that will be building into. Another set of frost mats have been put down, and that's just a lack of droning that we saw from G2 there in the end. I mean, that frost mat Benja jumped in from, we saw it earlier on. He didn't check it, he didn't bother checking it. And that might either be because they didn't know there was a frost on the board, or they thought that window was cleared out. I'm not quite sure.
I mean, I called it early on. It's that game plan that they're playing against here, the irritants of traps, the irritants of trickery, and adding one extra thing that G2 needs to check on these breaks is really just derailing them. It's pulling their focus away from what they wanted to do, those little scrappy moments, things like this.
I mean, why not, right? Because
why not at this point? It's just throwing them off.
No one was caught by it, but it's still something like, all right, like they're feeling this confident. They're going for these run-outs now. You need to try and stem that quickly. And if you look at G2 in these 3 rounds, they've only had 3 kills. Which isn't a lot. I don't think I have to tell you.
No, I don't think you need to. Yeah, it's The only really word for the start of this for G2 is tragic, and the tack timeout has been used. From this point onwards, the only player ahead of them is in the pockets of the players themselves. Back down on Kitchen, Doki just misses the tail end of the first fight. Somebody swinging around behind him. The E1D is close. He has an idea. The player slips away just at the end. They're concerned about the watch, the pre-fire, and the angles. There's the opener either side. Astro back and forth. And, well, it's Doki that at least wins it out. Blur almost gets picked up immediately after, but Alamau is able to find Cyber, and they have some cover. Finally, G2 have a lead in, but it wouldn't be the first that has dripped away from them as the round continues. Souls inside the vault. They seem to have some awareness. They're jiggling into the fight. They're able to do some damage to Bullet in the meantime. Benja gets one. There's Alamau finally activating alongside the rest of the players finally activating. And now at this, they just need to either find the diffuser on the site or the final kill.
Let's come back this shit. Let's go. Good job, boys.
You heard the screaming Fabian there just saying, like, let's go. This is what we need. This is the kind of energy they need as well. Just working together, finding these kills. Let's get the confidence back in. Virtue joking around a little bit. Saying he's just better. Now, head back towards trophy.
Defenders protect
Because believe it or not, that was a dining attack.
It was.
We were literally as far away from the side as possible.
Yeah, most of that happened on the opposite side, on the opposite side of the map. A little bit of a distance away. But, you know, it's the start. It was the technical first side. For a lot of teams, it does rotate its way around as the third. They've got to see if they can try and do it on more traditional first and second picks, I would say, from their region, which is here. Is that sort of middleist child trophy, the split site, and, you know, they were sort of apart here on the motions. They need to try and swing behind the momentum. They won multiple gunfights in multiple different places. They've suddenly doubled their total kill count. Almost triple over one round.
Definitely a good round coming in from G2 there. But it was a lot of gunfights happening on opposite side of the map. We're still like some 50-50s. At least from what we've seen, it wasn't like up until that last kill, not really people doubling up onto a single person. So even though everything went their way this time, you cannot really keep on relying on that. So they need to be making sure that they are working together for the remainder of this game, are double swinging these players, or at least firing on the back of information. Of course, I didn't see every kill, but the ones we saw were mostly just single people peeking and single people going after others. Moving through. Quick drone from Virtue is going to be giving away some information. Benji down below is going to be using a grenade, see if he can dispatch of the very first FaZe member. Souls is the target. Souls will be found as well right after he tosses the Kiba barrier up. But that's at least going to be the entry kill, and that's going to be a lot of Kiba barriers out of play now.
Timed with the E1D2. It was step for step perfect there, and G2 starting to have a bit of a turn of face.
Oh,
Look at that. Look at that. Doesn't get the full bite. It is a dock, so they're going to get themselves stimmed back up instantly. But it was almost the second follow-up from the same little bit of ground, a slight difference of a foot. And they at least get to keep two of them still running about and causing problems. And, well, thankfully it happened to the dock as well if you're a FaZe fan, because Cyber can get themselves picked back up to help the pressure. The back end, the Solarium stairs, they're putting their eyes towards the site via the telescope across the board, but Cyber is watching right back. However, will the pressure come? There it is. Fantastic take from the calls and the intel. Someone else steps in and someone else gets knocked right back out. Virtue, he's inside the site, at least gets some revenge, but with Vidiking getting one on the back end, there's another huge take from Virtue. Driving across, he's able to find his third! And the Aussie goes huge!
He said it in the previous round as a bit of a joking manner. I'm just better. And then he actually became just better.
And then he proves it.
Just what they needed, because it was slightly falling apart. Cyber taking down two players on the actual astronomy staircase just as they moved up. And then Virtue on the Ash just walks in and decides to drop his 4 kills off the game in one round.
I mean, Virtue, he hasn't really had the biggest tournament from the team, and he's not really needed to at points, obviously, but he's always been a superstar player. He was one of the original sort of superstar potential lineups here. He's had games where it's sort of shown. He's had these moments of rhythm, and those big hits are ones just like that. And if it needs to come on potentially the last map to be the reason you can keep getting another potential map, I mean, welcome. Welcome.
In that matter, it's never too late, right? Because if it keeps you alive, then that's all you need. Just to make sure that you can continue onwards. But still, you're a round behind, and still, FaZe have been able to pick up 3 rounds, so the half so far hasn't really been going your way. At least the tactical timeout has knocked some sense into the G2 members, and they're up. Aggressive, a jump out from Cyber. The window's prepped, though. He took a lot of damage, he didn't deal any. It's a big risk to take, but he gets away with his life.
Astro building himself a little fortification corner. They have the swing angle from behind to offer him some support. It's just a sort of step forward, but a well-placed grenade here, and that could be the end of Astro. Something played pretty well before. Cyber, as we said, with the jump out, him not getting killed is a blow. But him not getting a kill compared to how he was in the opening couple of rounds is probably a bit of a boon. But look at him now. Remember what he did in this exact location. The double kill, the bait on the first down. They're not falling for it. The drone rolls around, pushes it, and this should be able to get rid of
all 3.
All 3. Blur is able to take care of Astro's house. How? One of them survives and the one on the window. But still, it's a lot of keeper barricades gone for just wasting time on a room.
Yeah, it is, and you know, he also didn't place it up, so there was always one that survived as Benja gets the first. He's going aggressive as Cyber responds. Alamau and Benja both pushing through. A player with the staircase gets knocked out, and suddenly it's only up to Bullet now. An explosion onto the side of G2.
Where was this G2? And why have they shown up? You might be thinking if you're FaZe here, Bullet, he's doing everything to try and hold on. Blur, he's going to see if he can get the kit down. Bullet at least bites one more back. And now with the grenades rolling and well, the first plant in, the whole series. We'll see if G2 can get to the end of it. A 3 versus 1. They have some utility, a couple of Roteros, some flashes, and everything they need, and they're not giving Bullet anything. A good gun, a good movement, a jiggle onto the door, but the swing from wide, and an even half. G2. They've woken up.
You shot nothing. Let's fucking go.
Like a virtue's like, good shit call. You shot nothing. Either way. Good rounds coming in from G2 in the end there. 3 in a row. That's what they needed. That's the momentum they need to build if they want to be surviving this. And headed towards a map number 3, which will be Theme Park.
Attackers need to locate and defuse.
And as we get back in, it is the side swap coming through. And we are starting off where we left off, which is going to be Aviator, with G2's first defense now.
Attackers have located a bomb.
Quickly check in, nothing too odd out of the G2 lineup. Mute Moz is going to be making it somewhat difficult to get these drones into places where they need to be. Might actually catch some off as well to allow G2 to get some of these drones in pre-placed spots for attackers, or maybe, you know, drone out some of your defending buddies to go for an entry kill. Either way, as they set themselves up, keeper barriers are being prepared as well, just to block off some of these long lines aside as Doki rotates all the way around to the opposite side of the map. He's going to be barricading off his own doors just to provide himself some extra security, just to slow down a potential FaZe approach from this side of the map. And just to make sure that they would know based on sound.
Okay, G2, can the energy continue? And at what point do FaZe have the conversation before we might find ourselves hurtling towards map 3? There's no two ways they've woken up. But it's a game of 2 halves. It's a game of 2 sides, and it's often said this is a tricky one to attack. The trade out is the lead-in. Cyber's gone. Ooh. There is one more as well for the trouble. It's going to say they survived. The grenade just slipped on before the barricade could pop up. but Benja finds Vidaking, and it's a consistent response here from the guns of G2. They're making sure that there is at least a bit of destruction done elsewhere. Astro on the hunt, but they've already slipped away and peeled themselves to a position further off. They've lost the buck. They've lost some of the pressure from underneath. If there was, you know, hard breach charges, they are gone as well. From the pockets at this point, it's just guns and trying to drive them in. But to be honest, if you just wanted 2 people for their guns, there's 2 that you like. And with the diffuser rush failed inside the site, FaZe have a lot of working to do.
They sure do. And there's still some keeper barriers up. They're going to be making it difficult for them to move through. Now, luckily, there's still 2 breaching charges left on Bullet. So I think he's going to be using the first one on that ruse table to get rid of the keeper barrier out there that's blocking such a long sight. They have it, just as I said. It's going to be allowing him to actually look through the door towards Study and potentially find himself in a gunfight with Benja, who has been quite successful throughout this round so far with that P10 Roni. So it is a fight you need to be very confident in taking. Rotate around comes from Ash, I believe. So they might be trying to go for some steady pressure as well.
I mean, they have to add a second line. You cannot just charge your way in via the 2 doors. At least if you're doing the fight against Study or the pinch on the opposite end, you have a little bit of external wiggle room that you can play with. Even underneath, you could try and draw some attention. You have 1 more sort of ranged soft breach charge. They want to swing into this fight without the call and without the long time. They do it under the cover of the audio, and there's a fight for Benja. Gets the second! And that was some of the play we had on club. But this time it ends with a successful round, and G2, from being 0-3 down, now have 4 tied in a row.
Try and maybe bait the other strat in the prep phase so they don't take Thatcher. Can we try and do something like that, like open up triple and then reinforce it at the start of the round? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. Attackers need to locate and defuse as many bombs.
I'll prevent them from bringing Thatcher, so they're going to be baiting something to not give them any ID.
Yeah, so
Kate is there.
They were talking about maybe opening up the wall a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Which means that, you know, you don't feel like you've got to get that so strict. You know, they're not even playing into Thatcher at the minute at the start. They've swapped into Flores, which, if unwatched, could also do a similar sort of job. There's a mute to stop this approach. But, hey, you never really know, you know? We have omnipotence. We can see all and know all, and we can sort of say, well, it was a good idea. You only really know, well, they might like to do this, and we're going to do this instead. Now it's locked,
and that's
we're going to get some reinforcements.
Yeah, so indeed it's because of Virtue playing on that Cade. I want to make sure that they can actually keep this wall closed, and that means grenades need to be coming through.
Do the wall first.
Yeah, do the wall first. More important.
Do the wall first, Virtue. Now you can play the claws. The thing is, because they're going low with it, you know, it's going to be easier for the Flores drone to potentially get, or potentially get got from underneath.
Yeah.
Than up high, but up high means it's more likely to be swung from the opposite end. So it's the trade-off. Again, you're piecing things together based on assumed knowledge and knowledge, assuming they follow it.
He also has 2 of them, right? So to get the first, there's still always the opportunity to instantly go back.
Oh. Quick bit of grenade pressure.
Pull back in pocket, though.
Not yet, not yet.
Not going to be throwing that one in as a Hail Mary yet, as the first RC Retiro, or actually second, already comes through. He shots out. He's not going to be able to find any piece of utility, and that means that Bulla is still left with only 2 RCs as the Gemini Replicator gets taken out. It seems like some pressure from the bathroom is coming up very soon from the side of FaZe.
Yeah, Alamau, he's just sort of locked in. Obviously, as the smoke canisters can slip and rotate his way away, the shield up on the bed will get caught out. There's the preparation of they're going to try and grenade you, pull back. They're definitely going to grenade the shield. The C4 goes back, hoping that somebody moved in behind it. Didn't quite get the width they wanted, but the smoke canister on the window stopped them in the lead-in and the follow-through. Cyber, they're pushing onto the wall. They're going to go for the break, and that's why they open it up. The grenade will just bounce over the top. There's nothing to catch this, but Bullet does catch Virtue. Gone. That rolls too far. The way the claw is tucked, they're thinking it might be up high. Oh, the second just has that connection, and the wall will get opened.
And if you only had Virtue left alive now, would have been able to go for a bit of a trick. Not the case. Benja tries to reply. Doki goes down in the meantime, though. FaZe are literally knocking on the front doors here off this side. Alamau is being rushed on from multiple different sides. Flashbangs coming through. He's forced to fall back. He's no longer able to provide support to the rest of his teammates as Benja gets shut down right after he makes the kill happen.
Flooded from just too many sides, and now the pre-fire through the wall. They had the ping from the E1D and FaZe. Find a round, the first in a while, but it does level us back up.
Very one-dimensional push coming out from FaZe there, just using the walk-in closet, using the bathroom and the astronomy window. Nothing else was taken. They didn't send anybody in from below to get grenades through. They were thinking about it, but they decided against it. They sent in their RC Retiros, but they weren't quite able to provide, you know, the amount of damage they needed onto the astronomy stairs to push up later there. So at that point, all you can really do is just go in from a horizontal perspective because, you know, those strongholds still up and running for G2.
Living room library. And, well, you know it's a specific hold, and you know you've got a couple of big gunners in your team when Doki is on the roll of the Malusi. Dropped off a lot in the hands of favored gunners due to speed changes, where she's not quite as fun to swing around the map and get into engagements. However, sometimes you got to do what's best for the team.
10 seconds remaining.
Sometimes you have to. Sometimes if you're not feeling the role completely, it is time to hand it over to someone who is a little bit more into that game, or actually needs to be in a different kind of position. Either way. It is going to be that living room, and it's a sight we do not often see. If I'm correct, it only has been played like a total of 2 times throughout the 6th Invitational, yes. It has been won twice by the defense, which means that if teams know what they're doing here, they are able to find success. There's a reason why it doesn't get played often. It's because a lot of teams do not feel comfortable playing here.
Let's see if it can be something where FaZe are comfortable taking the attack. They start with the intel gather, they start with the push on the opposite end. We've seen them go for attempts at quick strikes. We've seen them try and break through the whole hold itself and just force a fight. An early smoke canister, and the response of the E1D, just to sort of make the statement that we're arriving and we're watching, and with the hold onto the stairs, I mean, are they trying to bait some attention here towards Study? You can see that Astro's watching the double door underneath as well. They have the entire rotation of this player locked in. They have 3 players watching Virtue's hold. There is nowhere for the smoke to go, but otherwise through a gunfight.
E1D comes through, C4 gets blown, a lot of damage done to Bullet, but not quite the confirm they were looking for. As the first 2 LMI will find Cyber. Virtue thinking about falling back a little bit, but also aware of the fact that a push comes down from the main door. And only up to Souls now. Could this be flawless? No, it's not. Just too late, Benja with the C4, but still the round win.
Bro, I thought the bench guy dropped on you. He was still there.
Something to Cyber. I like how he covers his microphone, so shouting in his teammates' ears.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you have to look at the timing of the kills there and the motions that G2 were making. As I said, FaZe was sort of setting themselves up. They'd surrounded for the pinch on the back end. They had what they believed was everything in place to force that player out. However, the G2 players started making moves of their own. There was the couple of C4s that came in from underneath. The first didn't get the full lockdown. The second did at the end there. We saw G2 respond to what was otherwise happening. And that is an energy that they've sort of been needing. It was an energy that only really, on the first map, we got big taste of Benja having. Alamau had a good time in his attack last time round. We need that growth from them. We need them to bring the fight back. 5-4. We go back to AVG. We go back to a chance at them pulling themselves to map point.
Now this one was a rush filled by FaZe. They quickly went through Study, opened up into what is Aviator, and tried to go for a quick push. Then the diffuser could drop before it even properly reached the side. The plant never really got attempted there, and G2 managed to get away with that instant round victory on the defense. FaZe this time is going to go for a bit of a different approach, at least it looks like, as the diffuser is in the opposite side of the map, which means they're going to be clearing out the master bedroom, they're going to be clearing out trophy and stat tree, and then go for potentially what is a horizontal approach, see if they can open up the vault, send in some pressure from there, and then try and get the plan down right behind the vault door, potentially, if that leans in for their current approach. The thing is that Doki is sneaking about.
Yeah, and he's sneaking about with a bit of soft, and obviously he's got the hop over rotate, but as I sort of talked about before, well, FaZe are very good at cutting off routes out, and there it is. Just blind sprinted through there, and it's not that FaZe have ever played those sort of strict strikes. They've always got a player nearby. If you see a FaZe drone, expect a FaZe engagement within 20 seconds at the worst, within 5 at the average.
Attackers recovered the bomb.
It's just a very cheap entry kill here for the side of FaZe. Just the expense of a single drone that has been taken care of, so they'll be more than happy with that. LMAO now stopping those drones from coming through further. RC Retero is going to be taking care of the Kiba barrier, which with Doki's early demise are not going to be replaced. Could be problematic later down in the round.
Flashes over the top. An early C4 ready for a rotate that might come through. Popped and blown, though. So removed quite early. There's a bit of a break onto the site walls itself. The vault gets opened up. You can see Blur is hoping to hit the long-range firefight with the DMR, and they're not being offered anything. Astro, he's taking his time on the approach. It's Souls that gets caught by Benja underneath. There is a second fight, but he's not going to opt for it. Instead, Blur is able to win here, as I talked about, on the top floor. Suddenly, G2, once again, they've lent in, they've bit back. I said Benja was the man who did it a lot by himself before, and now he's got a support structure. FaZe, they're still concerned of the rotates. They're still concerned of the pressure that can come around from underneath. Suddenly they've lost some of their control, but at this point, it's just eyes onto the site and the burn through the gates.
Still fell apart really quickly here for FaZe. As Benja does get taken down, they grab a little bit of consistency again, allowed him to stay in this. It's going to be a friendly drone watching there, quickly pinging it just to make sure. Some smoke canisters being tossed in to slow them down. Truly, Bullet was thinking about getting a grenade through, but instead tried to go for the fight. 10 seconds. They need to go in now. They need to try and get that plan to happen. Virtue is rotating through, but gets taken down. I believe that is from the balcony. The cover needs to be on point right now as the plant is going down. 45 seconds on the clock. And it is FaZe that bring it to 5-5.
Huge there from Cyber. Drove himself through. A very important couple of kills. We saw the pings on Benja to get the down on the back end. They weren't able to get the rotate and the player back up. It turned into the 2 versus 1 FaZe. I mean, they took the round, but only just. They know it. They know they are only 2 rounds away from keeping themselves going along the lower bracket. They also know that if they win this, they still have a game in hand. They want to lock this up here.
Yeah, they need to lock this off in a 2-0 fashion to ensure themselves the best possible successes later on against the potential Dark Zero. Big discussion here about what's going wrong, I assume, and what they need to improve on. I don't know. I don't speak the language. But that's what I assume is what they're talking about. And that's Aviator that just fell. FaZe took that early control, took down Doki, then Benja struck back and managed to bring the advantage back to G2. But they were unable to really utilize that G2. Like the trade stopped happening, and with a player that is on the balcony able to look through by the angles you created yourself earlier to stop anybody from rotating through, like we saw from Virtue, who wanted to go for a quick rotate around so he could stop the plant from happening. Which meant that you then needed to take that fight, and then you needed to find the cover before you could actually start approaching that planter. And that's a small oversight we saw from G2. Now, they're rerunning the side. We're back to Aviator games. And I think the main change here is to not lose your player this early on. Which was, of course, Doki with the Kiba barricades as well.
5 seconds to go.
It's a massive amount of utility that he carries. It's also him on the suicide mission.
Yeah, but it's a silly way to go down as well. He just assumed he wasn't being watched. He assumed that there wasn't. And as we talked about, it's something they've done so well Alamau on the Solus, on the hunt for that drone game, on the hunt for anyone that might try and take him. It is an exploration of the space. It's a risk because you're so far away from the site. You couldn't be further from the site right now. However, if you can get in on the back end, if you can try and break through some of this awareness and approach.
He's aware of what's being droned. He's just following it with Solus. Of course, there is no indication on the drone that you are actually being spotted, like you would have, for example, with a visual that has anything activated. I see Rotero used there to get rid of the Surya laser gate, just so they can send some others through. And Alamau gives away his position right here, but either this is to get himself hunted, or this is just him trying to take down that drone and failing.
Well, it instantly follows up with the E1D. There's some pings on the player, and Benja is trying to offer some support as well. He stepped slightly into the same location. Look at Cyber, though. He's down, watching and waiting for Alamau, and the fight is one that was picked apart pretty quickly. You gave FaZe a sniff of a player, and they're not a team that goes slow. If they have an idea of an engagement that they can take, they're going to want to take it. And they don't try and act cautiously around it. They don't try and go slow in.
Benja's gone unspotted there in the laundry. Quickly hid himself whilst they were too busy trying to find Alamau. He's going to go on the hunt now. Slowly but steadily, he's moving himself closer and closer towards Bullet, the Nuck, who can now freely use, of course, the Hell Scanner, considering that Solus is off the board. Doki takes a bit of damage. Grenades are coming through, but won't find any confirmation as Benja takes down Souls with a C4. But he forgot about Bullet. That might be down below him.
That's it. He'll get the call that someone's grenading from underneath. He's not entirely sure what side. They're sort of back-to-back a little bit. And there's the swing round. There's the Nuck caught out. Benja. Even he wasn't truly aware of that fight, but you know he's someone who's more than happy to lean in. Vidaking, he's going to just go past the window. I thought he would have drived clear, unfortunately. For Benja, he's a little bit too short. Just saw the right end of it. So Cyber, he's got 28 seconds. It's the 4 versus 3. They pulled this back last time. Now it's even worse. Vidaking locked on the door, and Benja for the last. G2, 1 round away from taking map 2, their map. The last one ended in a 7-5 in favor of FaZe. This one can end in the favor of G2, but 1 round separates FaZe from bringing it to OT.
Huge round from Benja there, though. Like, as soon as Alamau made his position to be known, he snuck himself into laundry because he was like, okay, they're going to be hunting him down now. They probably won't expect a second player to just be hiding in the spot like this. And indeed, they didn't expect it. And that's why he was able to find that success first, that C4 kill, and just stay around there. Try and get himself hunted. Mentioned it before. We're not headed towards living, even though a win was found there by G2. We are headed towards the kitchen and dining room. So all 4 sides will be played by G2. Whether or not all sides will be won, it's going to be a different question. No, actually, it won't happen. This trophy already lost.
Yeah,
I rerun it after.
We can't answer that one, actually.
We cannot answer that one. So, unless we do go to overtime.
Well, no, we still can. We can answer it by saying, no, not all sides will be won.
I mean,
if your question,
they can still be won if they lose this and then win overtime and have defense twice and all kinds of difficult scenario.
You're a difficult scenario.
Thank you.
Happy Valentine's Day. The first fight will be a very important one at the point, and obviously the entry statistic did go away, but Benja has just been the problem child for FaZe Clan throughout this game. The E1D consistent play, an attempt to try and control the movements here of G2 on this map. It's something that he's able to play around and against, but they've doubled it up with the Jackal. They've sort of gone in on the idea of let's find these loose players, because too many times they've slipped by. Too many times we've not taken them by surprise. We've sort of gone in guns blazing and locked them out. We can do the same fight. Cyber goes down. The first victim to fall, Virtue. I don't know if he knows. He's cautious about giving himself away, because look at this. There's somebody on the washroom. There's somebody on the prep door. Blur pops around, gets Cyber. and that's why Virtue didn't move, to make sure they didn't hand the site over. Virtue suffers, but he's able to win out against Souls as well. Astro, he's trying to make things happen here on the pantry stairs and the lead-in. He's swung into Alamau against Vidaking. In the meantime, G2 weren't happy to sit around and wait, and they might have had everything to try and find the loose players, but apparently not enough for the ones on the building and the structure itself. Bullet pulls back, finds the end of Benja. Alamau's still holding on to the opposite side, but he's not giving his head away. The first body to take is theirs. They're trying to fight their way through into China. There's the width of the Oryx, and it's dangerous here from G2 to keep offering little glimpses of engagements. There's one more for Blur. He shows up when you need him on the back end, and Bullet, an ace clutch to take us into overtime. Damage from the Capcan, the end from the Oryx, and map 2 is G2.
Quickly sending some BM the other way. Alamau just shouting